Good morning, students, and welcome to the Student Support Services Summer 2004 Math Workshop. What we're going to be doing in this class is helping you to prepare or getting a better foundation in your mathematics so that you will be successful in your credit classes here at Rider University. We will be covering a multitude of topics from fractions and decimals, percents, algebra, some geometry, and even into Algebra 2. Over the course of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on how long it takes you, we will cover all these topics. And if you remember from high school, those topics probably took you a good 6 or 7 years. What we're going to do is we're going to cover this in a very short amount of time. Most of these topics you have already covered in your classes in high school, so this is basically a review. And what we try and do is we try and leave it so that you can work a little quicker through the pieces that you already understand, and then show us where you're having trouble so that we can identify and work with all of those things that we have to fix, or if there are gaps in your math knowledge. Some of the ways that we're going to do this are going to be through my lectures up here, and Mrs. Lopes has already included on your website many other places where you can access information. But some of what I'm going to be doing is running you through an outline where you can fill in, say, examples for each piece of the outline. We will have provided you with notes for each of the chapters as we go through it, and you will then put either an example or maybe you'll have a question at that point, and then you can come back to us and ask a question. For each chapter that we're going to cover, you should have right in front of yourselves the class notes that are going to be provided for you. So for example, the first chapter that we're going to be working on is fractions and decimals. And I know that sounds like a very elementary kind of topic, but we need to make sure that that foundation is in place before we can move to more advanced topics, because everything that we learn here in the beginning will be used over and over again. So we want to make sure that that first step is taken care of and is mastered before we move on. So as we go to each chapter, I'm going to ask you to have right in front of yourselves the class notes. For example, for the fractions and decimals. If we were going to do the fractions and decimals today, you would have that fraction and decimal note page in front of you. You would have your notebook in front of you, and you would be taking notes. I don't want you to take down and write down every single thing that I write up here. I want you to put in examples, or I want you to write a question next to the items that you have trouble with. After we go through the lecture for each chapter, you will then be required to go to our website, MyMathLab, and complete the exercises, because the best way to get better at mathematics is to practice. Any of you that are athletes, or if you're performers on the stage, or if you play a musical instrument, you know that when you practice something, you get better at it. So by practicing mathematics, we are going to get better at mathematics. So on the website that you're going to have access to will be your practice. After we learn the mathematics, you will then go and practice the questions. I will be able to see if you have completed the practice questions, and then you will be given a test to make sure that you mastered it. Anytime you have a question and you can't go to another source, you can always skip that question and then you can come back to it. But remember, there are many, many places where you can access information. You will have access to your textbook through the website. So don't be afraid to just put that question down and go to the textbook. Don't be afraid to use the other resources that Mrs. Lopes has already loaded on this website. There are links to PowerPoints. There are other videos that are in there that you will have access to. And if all else fails, just hold on to that question, and we will have another session in the evening where you can actually talk face-to-face to one of our tutors. So as we progress through the chapters, we will cover all the information that you will need to be able to be successful on our placement test, so that hopefully at the end of this few weeks that we have together, you will be able to place into your credit math class for the fall semester. One of the things that we're going to require of you is that as you are doing your work, you must do your work on a notebook. Do not throw it away if it's done wrong. Do not scribble it out or erase it. You need to leave the work there so that we can see it. Because we are doing this online, I have the added problem of not seeing your work. So I need to look at what you're doing. The tutors and I will be able to look at your work as you're doing it, and we will be able to find your mistakes, and we can correct it that way. If you keep tearing everything out, we're not going to be able to find your mistake. And it's quite possible that you've done everything correctly up to a point, and then we just have to correct one item. So please do not throw your scrap paper away. There will be a way for us to take a picture of it, possibly with your cell phone. You'll be able to hook into the computer so that we can see that. So do not throw your scrap paper away. It is absolutely important that I see that. You must leave it there so that we can visualize, so we have a visual to see what you're doing. One of the things we're also going to ask is that as you complete each of the chapter homeworks on the computer, you let us know so that we can go in. I can always go in and see how many you've done correctly. We can access that and see how many you have correct, and then we will open up the test for you to do the test. This will also have to be, all the scrap paper has to be done there. We need to see all the scrap work, and we will require you to take a picture of that test, send it to us, we will grade it, and then we will send it back so that you can complete any problems that you have done wrong. The big idea behind this whole Math Lab course is not so that you pass or fail a test, but so that you can recognize your mistakes and correct the mistakes. So that's basically how this course runs. We will do some explanation. You will then have a chance to work on some problems. If you have questions, you can always ask us questions. As you complete each homework, you're then able to move on to the next, to the test for that section, and then move on to the next section. So we will have all of these ready for you to go, and hopefully this will be a very successful few weeks that we have together. Thank you.